Hello guys, in this video, we are going to talk about profit maximization in the competitive firm's supply curve. But first we need to know what is profit maximization. Profit maximization is the process by which a firm determines the price and output level that returns the highest profit. There are several approaches method to profit maximization. The total revenue minus total cost method relies on the fact that profit equals revenue minus cost, and the marginal revenue less marginal cost method is based on the fact that total profit in a perfectly competitive market reaches its maximum point where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. A profit maximizing firm will produce more output when marginal revenue is more than the marginal cost and less output when marginal revenue is less than the marginal cost. If MR equals MC, however, the firm has no incentive to produce either more or less output. The firm's profits are maximized at the level of output at which MR equals MC. A firm can maximize profit either by increasing per unit revenue or decreasing per unit cost, or doing both simultaneously. Here is a simple example of profit maximization. Let's begin our analysis of the firm's supply decision with the example in Table 2. In the first column of the table is the number of gallons of milk the Vega family dairy farm produces. The second column shows the farm's total revenue, which is $6 times the number of gallons. The third column shows the farm's total cost. Total cost includes fixed costs, which are $3 in this example, and variable costs, which depend on the quantity produced. The fourth column shows the farm's profit, which is computed by subtracting total cost from total revenue. If the farm produces nothing, it has a loss of $3. If it produces 1 gallon, it has a profit of $1. If it produces 2 gallons, it has a profit of $4, and so on. Because the Vega family's goal is to maximize profit, it chooses to produce the quantity of milk that makes profit as large as possible. In this example, profit is maximized when the farm produces 4 or 5 gallons of milk for a profit of $7. There is another way to look at the Vega farm's decision. The Vegas can find the profit maximizing quantity by comparing the marginal revenue and marginal cost from each unit produced. The fifth and sixth columns in Table 2 compute marginal revenue and marginal cost from the changes in total revenue and total cost. And the last column shows the change in profit for each additional gallon produced. The first gallon of milk the farm produces has a marginal revenue of $6 and a marginal cost of $2. Hence, producing that gallon increases profit by $4. The second gallon produced has a marginal revenue of $6 and a marginal cost of $3, so that gallon increases profit by $3. As long as marginal revenue exceeds marginal cost, increasing the quantity produced raises profit. Once the Vega farm has reached 5 gallons of milk, however, the situation changes. The sixth gallon would have a marginal revenue of $6 and a marginal cost of $7, so producing it would reduce profit by $1. As a result, the Vegas would not produce beyond 5 gallons. One of the 10 principles is that rational people think at the margin. We now see how the Vega family dairy farm can apply this principle. If marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, as it is at 1, 2, or 3 gallons, the Vegas should increase the production of milk because it will put more money in their pockets than it takes out. If marginal revenue is less than marginal cost, as it is at 6, 7, or 8 gallons, the Vegas should decrease production. If the Vegas think at the margin and make incremental adjustments to the level of production, they are naturally led to produce the profit maximizing quantity. The marginal cost curve in the firm's supply decision. To extend this analysis of profit maximization, consider the cost curves in Figure 1. These cost curves have the 3 features that are thought to describe most firms. The marginal cost curve, or MIC, is upward sloping. The average total cost curve is U-shaped, and the marginal cost curve crosses the average total cost curve at the minimum of average total cost. The figure also shows a horizontal line at the market price. The price line is horizontal because the firm is a price taker. The price of the firm's output is the same regardless of the quantity that the firm decides to produce. Keep in mind that, for a competitive firm, the firm's price equals both its average revenue and its marginal revenue. We can use Figure 1 to find the quantity of output that maximizes profit. Imagine that the firm is producing at Q1. At this level of output, marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost. That is, if the firm raised its level of production and sales by 1 unit, the additional revenue would exceed the additional cost. Profit which equals total revenue minus total cost, would increase. Hence, if marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, as it is at Q1, the firm can increase profit by increasing production. A similar argument applies when output is at Q2. In this case, marginal cost is greater than marginal revenue. If the firm reduced production by 1 unit, the cost saved would exceed the revenue loss. Therefore, if marginal revenue is less than marginal cost, as it is at Q2, the firm can increase profit by reducing production. Where do these marginal adjustments to production end? Regardless of whether the firm begins with production at a low level or at a high level, the firm will eventually adjust production until the quantity produced reaches Qmax. This analysis yields 3 general rules for profit maximization. If marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, the firm should increase its output. If marginal cost is greater than marginal revenue, the firm should decrease its output. At the profit maximizing level of output, marginal revenue and marginal cost are exactly equal. These rules are the key to rational decision-making by a profit-maximizing firm. They apply not only to competitive firms but to other types of firms as well. We can now see how the competitive firm decides the quantity of its good to supply to the market. Because a competitive firm is a price taker, its marginal revenue equals the market price. For any given price, the competitive firm's profit-maximizing quantity of output is found by looking at the intersection of the price with the marginal cost curve. In Figure 1, that quantity of output is Qmax. Suppose that the price prevailing in this market rises, perhaps because of an increase in market demand. Figure 2 shows how a competitive firm responds to the price increase. When the price is P1, the firm produces quantity Q1, the quantity that equates marginal cost to the price. When the price rises to P2, the firm finds that marginal revenue is now higher than marginal cost at the previous level of output. So the firm increases production. The new profit maximizing quantity is Q2, at which marginal cost equals the new higher price. In essence, because the firm's marginal cost curve determines the quantity of the good the firm is willing to supply at any price, the marginal cost curve is also the competitive firm's supply curve. There are, however, some caveats to that conclusion, which we will examine next. The firm's short-term and long-term decisions. The firm's short-run decision to shut down. So far, we have been analyzing the question of how much a competitive firm will produce. In certain circumstances, however, the firm will decide to shut down and not produce anything at all. Here we should distinguish between a temporary shutdown of a firm and the permanent exit of a firm from the market. A shutdown refers to a short-run decision not to produce anything during a specific period of time because of current market conditions. Exit refers to a long-run decision to leave the market. The short-run and long-run decisions differ because most firms cannot avoid their fixed costs in the short run but can do so in the long run. That is, a firm that shuts down temporarily still has to pay its fixed costs, whereas a firm that exits the market does not have to pay any costs at all, fixed or variable. For example, consider the production decision that a farmer faces. The cost of the land is one of the farmer's fixed costs. If the farmer decides not to produce any crops one season, the land lies fallow, and he cannot recover this cost. When making the short-run decision whether to shut down for a season, the fixed cost of land is said to be a sunk cost. By contrast, if the farmer decides to leave farming altogether, he can sell the land. When making the long-run decision whether to exit the market, the cost of land is not sunk. Now let's consider what determines a firm's shutdown decision. If the firm shuts down, it loses all revenue from the sale of its product. At the same time, it saves the variable costs of making its product. Thus, the firm shuts down if the revenue that it would get from producing is less than its variable costs of production. A small bit of mathematics can make this shutdown criterion more useful. If TR stands for total revenue and VC stands for variable costs, then the firm's decision can be written as shut down if TR lesser than VC. The firm shuts down if total revenue is less than variable cost. By dividing both sides of this inequality by the quantity Q, we can write it as shut down if TR divided by Q lesser than VC divided by Q. The left side of the inequality, TR divided by Q, is total revenue P times Q divided by quantity Q, which is average revenue, most simply expressed as the goods price, or P. The right side of the inequality, VC divided by Q, is average variable cost, or AVC. Therefore, the firm's shutdown criterion can be restated as shutdown if P lesser than a VC. That is, a firm chooses to shut down if the price of the good is less than the average variable cost of production. This criterion is intuitive. When choosing to produce, the firm compares the price it receives for the typical unit to the average variable cost that it must incur to produce the typical unit. If the price doesn't cover the average variable cost, the firm is better off stopping production altogether. The firm will be losing money, but it would lose even more money staying open. The firm can reopen in the future if conditions change so that price exceeds average variable cost. We now have a full description of a competitive firm's profit maximizing strategy. If the firm produces anything, it produces the quantity at which marginal cost equals the price of the good. Yet if the price is less than average variable cost at that quantity, the firm is better off shutting down and not producing anything. These results are illustrated in Figure 3. The competitive firm's short-run supply curve portion of its marginal cost curve that lies above average variable cost. The firm long-run decision to exit or enter a market. A firm's long-run decision to exit a market is similar to its shutdown decision. If the firm exits, it will again lose all revenue from the sale of its product, but now it will save not only its variable costs of production but also its fixed costs. Thus, the firm exits the market if the revenue it would get from producing is less than its total cost. We can again make this criterion more useful by writing it mathematically. If TR stands for total revenue and TC stands for total cost, then the firm's exit criterion can be written as exit if TR lesser than TC. The firm exits if total revenue is less than total cost. By dividing both sides of this inequality by quantity Q, we can write it as exit if TR divided by Q lesser than TC divided by Q. We can simplify this further by noting that TR divided by Q is average revenue, which equals the price P, and that TC divided by Q is average total cost, ATC. Therefore, the firm's exit criterion is exit if P lesser than a TC. That is, a firm chooses to exit if the price of its good is less than the average total cost of production. A parallel analysis applies to an entrepreneur who is considering starting a firm. The firm will enter the market if such an action would be profitable, which occurs if the price of the good exceeds the average total cost of production. The entry criterion is enter if P greater than a TC. The criterion for entry is exactly the opposite of the criterion for exit. We can now describe a competitive firm's long-run profit maximizing strategy. If the firm is in the market, it produces the quantity at which marginal cost equals the price of the good. Yet if the price is less than average total cost at that quantity, the firm chooses to exit the market. These results are illustrated in Figure 4. The competitive firm's long-run supply curve is the portion of its marginal cost curve that lies above average total cost. Measuring profit in our graph for the competitive firm. As we analyze exit and entry, it is useful to be able to analyze the firm's profit in more detail. Recall that profit equals total revenue minus total cost. Profit equals TR minus TC. We can rewrite this definition by multiplying and dividing the right side by Q. Profit equals TR divided by Q minus TC divided by Q times Q. But note that TR divided by Q is average revenue, which is the price, P, and TC divided by Q is average total cost, ATC. Therefore, profit equals P minus ATC times Q. This way of expressing the firm's profit allows us to measure profit in our graphs. Panel A of Figure 5 shows a firm earning positive profit. As we have already discussed, the firm maximizes profit by producing the quantity at which price equals marginal cost. Now look at the shaded rectangle. The height of the rectangle is P minus ATC, the difference between price and average total cost. The width of the rectangle is Q, the quantity produced. Therefore, the area of the rectangle is P minus ATC times Q, which is the firm's profit. Similarly, Panel B of this figure shows a firm with losses. In this case, maximizing profit means minimizing losses. A task accomplished once again by producing the quantity at which price equals marginal cost. Now consider the shaded rectangle. The height of the rectangle is ATC minus P, and the width is Q. The area is ATC minus P times Q, which is the firm's loss. Because a firm in this situation is not making enough revenue to cover its average total cost, the firm would choose in the long run to exit the market. And that is profit maximization and the competitive firm's supply curve. And if you guys like this video, make sure to subscribe this channel. Thank you.